undiscovered. Didn't care for one another, you and I. You and I. Thought I was okay till something in me changed. Don't know why. Don't know why.
It's about a 300-metre walk. Cool, no problems. Thank you, mate. Cool, you might have heard that. So they're pretty busy here. I'm just going to turn around and we're in the unpowered paddock site. So we're going to go, Bianca's going to go check in. And we're going to, nice and easy, just turn around. Cool. We're going to cruise down the road a little bit and find this paddock that's just over the bridge. They do have another fully contained caravan park here with power and everything you need, but being everything what it is at the moment, it's all booked out. So we're just going to cruise down here, and he said it was on the right just after the bridge, about 150 meters, and we'll see what it's like there. So I'm going to go back over here. They're all drive-through sites on this one. It's all unpowered, fully self-contained, and it's just a good alternative to being close by without having to disconnect and drive around and try and find a free camp. So the sites here were all included as well in the price, in the admission price, which is good. So we're looking for 16, 17, there's 17, but we're going to come around and hit it from the other side, I reckon. We're just on our way into Paronella. You can see Swing Bridge behind me. A beautiful waterfall there as well. We're pretty excited. It's extremely hot today. We're just heading over now. We're just waiting for Kiana and Bianca to catch up and we'll head on in. Oh my god. Little baby turtle. I don't know if you can see that on camera. I'll try and zoom in post, but there was just little baby turtles, and then down here in the shade as well, little baby turtles. Wow, look at that. Down here as well. Can you see a little turtle?
Yeah.
How many little turtles are there? 4. How cool is that? Big waterfall there. And a giant suspension bridge as well. You got the waterfall. This place looks amazing. Have a look at this.
Welcome, guys.
How are you, Mark?
Good. How are you?
Good.
Are you staying tonight?
Yeah, no, we've got it.
3 more wristbands.
Alright, ladies and gentlemen, having said all that, we'll begin. I'd like to draw your attention to the hydro board behind me here. Jose Paronella built a hydroelectricity system back in the 1930s. Now this area didn't actually receive any power until about the mid-1960s, so this meant it was about 20 to 25 years ahead of the time. I'll explain a little bit later on in our journey what that meant for the park, but in a nutshell, it really gave the park its spark. But Hope you're all ready for some bad puns today. So the hydroelectricity system stopped working back in the 1970s, and it wasn't until our current owners, Mark and Judy Evans, they decided to restore the hydro system back in 2008, and by 2009 it was back here in the park, powering it here. So keep that in mind today as you're wandering the park, our cafe, you know, the lights in the museum, and if you're staying here tonight, you'll see that pool happening with the music and light show, and not only that, the caravan site is being powered by something that was built back in 1933, and not only that, by Jose Paronella himself, which is pretty awesome. Does anyone know what gave Jose his inspiration, his dream, why he decided to build the castles? Love. Love, yeah, that is correct, it was love. Jose Paronella was born in Catalonia, Spain in 1887, and both his parents worked at olive farms to support him and his 5 siblings. Now this meant babysitting fell to grandma, and it was Nana that actually gave Jose his inspirations. When he was a small boy, she would tell him stories of noblemen living in castles and brave knights going on quests over bridges and tunnels. Now for a small boy, this is what fueled his imagination and ignited his dreams of having castles of his own one day. Now fast forward a few years, age 14, he actually drops out of school, becomes a pastry chef. And then over the next 10 years, he actually grows quite bored, tired of that pastry chef life, but he'd heard of Spanish men in his home village were actually leaving and heading to Australia, where they were making a good life for themselves. So with that hesitation, at age 24, he packed his bags, he had a ticket, and he was heading here to Australia. Now he arrived in Sydney in 1913 and heard of travellers saying there was good money to be made on our far north Queensland tin mines, so he followed them up here. However, he did not like the working conditions on those tin mines back then, and he made his way back down here to Innisfail to try his luck at cane cutting. But alas, our Jose Paronella, he is a dreamer nonetheless. He actually saves some money and he purchases some land, which he clears, he ploughs the soil, then plants cane crops to sell on later for a very large profit. Now he repeats this process another 11 times, and in doing so he became a very, very wealthy man. Now at age 34, and after conquering the business world, feels like it's time to find himself a wife. But like any good story, there's always a plot twist. What many people don't realise is that he was promised a bride by the name of Matilda. But at age 24, not having a lot to his name and coming here to Australia and unsure of the living conditions here, he told her to stay put and he would come back for her. So that is what he did in 1924. He set off on his own quest to bring back his betrothed. However, when he arrived to Spain, he'd hit a minor speed bump. He was only ever met by Matilda's mother, to which she told, "No way, Jose! You can no longer marry my Matilda." She's been married for the last 3 years now and has a small child. Now a few of us are thinking probably what happened. Jose forgot to do one important thing, which was to write to Matilda like he'd promised her. In fact, he'd been here 12 whole years, not one letter was sent home. Naughty Jose, talk about the ultimate silent treatment, am I right, ladies? Yeah, we don't do too well when we get the cold shoulder. Now his return to Spain did stir up a bit of drama in his home village, for back then the gentleman's agreement was binding, if not fulfilled, brought dishonour and shame onto the families. But fear not, as fate would have it, he would have a bride. Now Margarita, Matilda's youngest sister, was in town visiting mum, and it would be this very visit that would bring Margarita and Jose together. They were wedded on the 16th of September 1925, and in doing so restoring the family honour once again. Then they had a 7-month-long honeymoon together. Now a few of us are thinking 7 months sipping cocktails poolside, getting a suntan on a beach for 7 months sounds a bit alright. However, it wasn't the case for our newlyweds. Jose had explained to Margarita his dreams of owning a European pleasure garden complete with castles here in far north Queensland. So they spent 7 months travelling around Europe to places like botanical gardens, restaurants, cafes, museums and art galleries, to make sure when he got back here, his dreams would not become just a reality, but a great success too. Now they arrived back here in 1926 and set off to accomplish those dreams. Travelling down the old Bruce Highway, which is the same road we all used to get here today, he fell in love with this waterfall here. Thought to himself, you beauty! I'll make my dreams a reality right here. Now these 13 acres were actually owned by a German cane farmer at the time. But our Jose had convinced this farmer that this land here was no good for planting crops. It was too hilly apparently for all that. So he got these 13 acres just for £120, about $10,000. So not bad business there. Then 3 months later, he built his family home. Now this housed his wife Margarita and their 2 children, Teresa and Joe. However, now it's home to the Paronella Park Museum. So after the tour, please come back, have a look inside. There is a 1968 microwave in there that we use to cook your scones. No, I'm only kidding. But it's in there. Have a look at a few photos of what the park used to look like back in the heyday as well. Now the castle behind me was the cafe, and inside was complete with an ice cream parlour. Woohoo! Do you kids like ice cream?
Yeah.
Yeah, me too. As I was saying, the hydroelectricity system allowed Jose to power things like lights, the ice cream machines, fridges. He even had hot water in his home and in the cafe here. So you could understand why back in 1935 this place would be drawing a crowd. Now my personal little favourite spot here was what was above the cafe. This was the museum. Now as you do when you're travelling, you collect souvenirs. And Jose and Margarita did exactly that. They collected souvenirs on their honeymoon and housed it above here in the cafe.
Beautiful.
Alright, let's talk about the grand staircase which we came down. So as I said, that Jose was using building materials off the land here. So he needed a way to get from down here and up there. And those 47 steps were the first structure here that was built in the park. He was carrying buckets of clay, sand and water day in, day out up those stairs to, of course, build the home, the grand ballroom and the cafe there. Not only that, a lot of the concrete was mixed up top, and then he was carrying a lot of it back down here to continue building the castles here in the lower gardens. Now this park was opened to the public in 1935, and locals, travellers and World War II soldiers from far and wide would come here to Paronella Park to spend a day here. Now back then in the picnic area, you could actually go swimming. Now he had little canoe type boats that he would row guests out under the waterfall and then bring them back. Now when you're swimming, of course, you work up a bit of an appetite. Now the castle behind me here, Jose called Cafe by the Pool, or we refer to it as the lower refreshment rooms. This castle was a cafe by day, fine dining restaurant by night. So you could come up here during the day, order some food at the cafe, head back down into the picnic area to continue your swimming. Once your order was ready, it would be brought to you at one of the picnic tables down there. And the best part was, it didn't matter which one of the picnic tables you sat at, your view would never be obstructed. So you can enjoy a nice cafe meal and even have a better view of the waterfall too, which would have been very nice. As your day progresses and you're continuing having your fun, and time flies when you're having fun, it's now our dinner time. So of course you could come up here and have a meal at the fine dining restaurant. However, before you could enter, you'd have to be out of those bathers. Did everyone notice the 10 cubicle? Yeah, the 10 changing rooms inside of the castle here. 10 on that side and 10 on this side. You'd have to get changed out of your bathers and back into that 3-piece suit or your lovely evening wear. And as I talk about that and think about it, I think that would be a bit of a nightmare trying to get out of your wet bathers and back into your 3-piece suit. Now, to the right of the castle was Margarita's kitchen. This is where she'd prepare and cook all the meals. Now above her, Jose would hire a local musician or a band in the local area that would come here to the park and play music. Now if he could not find anyone, he was known to get up there himself, whip out his guitar, play a piece of music. Now if I could go back through time to experience one thing here at the park, I think I would personally pick Jose up there with his guitar, playing music for everyone. Meanwhile I'm thinking he's personally serenading me. Now the fountain behind me here didn't originally exist. This was actually used for entertainment purposes. So games of lawn bowls and bocce were had here. Not only that, this big opening space that we're standing in had 2 full-size tennis courts. He used crushed up termite mound. He had a big concrete roller that he would use to roll it all flat, wet the surface, and as it dried became hard as concrete, and you could play a game of tennis, which is pretty awesome. Now sadly though, in 1946, this area was hit by a devastating flood. We were receiving very heavy rainfall at the time, causing logs from land clearing and debris to build up at a near railway track, causing a dam. Now this dam stopped the flow of water to the point this beautiful waterfall behind me became a mere trickle, just like a dripping tap. Jose had never seen anything quite like it, but an hour later, crack! This whole dam gave way, and with it, 50 foot of water engulfed this entire area. Now to put that in a bit of perspective for us all, I hope we're all strong swimmers, because we'd be holding our breath right now and swimming up to the surface, because this castle behind me was completely underwater. Water levels rose so far it was noted to even be lapping up at the grand ballroom windows at 1.2. As you can imagine, a lot of damage had been done here at the park. Jose had to close Paronella Park for 6 months. Once it was reopened, it was only over the top part of the park, and the picnic area open to the public. Down here had to remain shut as there was too much damage had occurred. Now sadly, 18 months later, at age 60, Jose had actually passed away. Now this was due to stomach cancer, however I don't think it helped those 18 months earlier having half his dream washed away to blink of an eye. I think it broke his heart and it became a little bit too much for him to bear. Now this just left his wife Margarita and their son Joe to run the park, and his daughter Teresa, she was of marrying age. She'd been married and moved to Brisbane with her new husband. Now Margarita and Joe run the park together very successfully until about the mid-1960s. Now this is Carry Pine Tree Avenue. Now these beautiful trees were nearly logged to extinction in the early 1900s. Now in fear of this, the government actually gifted these trees to Jose back in 1933. Now our sweet Teresa actually remembers planting these very trees here with her father back then. She would have been all of the age of 10. And when she came back in the park about 60 years later, she was just in awe about how tall and how straight these trees were. But still, these trees still have about another several hundred years of maturing to do. So technically they're still tree saplings, believe it or not. Once they are fully mature, they're about 2.5 to 4 meters in diameter. Now if there's a few of us that can time travel or be here in the next several hundred years, of course this footpath may cease to exist. These trees will continue to grow, and as they grow it will continue to shrink the footpath. However, we've got a few years up our sleeve of course to enjoy the footpath and even check out that beautiful view shape there with the tree lines, the waterfall. Now I hope we've got a few Harry Potter fans in the crowd, because 10 points to Gryffindor, or your house of choosing I should say. Take a look at the markings on the tree here, or the trees I should say. They gave inspiration to a certain uniform here in Australia. Does anyone want to take a guess? The inspiration was the Australian Army. They got it from here, the uniform from the markings on the tree here. Now, does anyone take a quick guess at what this castle was once used for? Now, I'm not sure what he calls it. I call it the throne room, or the throne castle, if you will. Now, it cost you a couple of pence to go inside to use the toilets, but I would have given Jose my week's allowance, because I would have gone in there to actually flush the toilets. That is right. Back in 1935, Jose had working flushable toilets here in the park.
Wow.
My little joke at the beginning where I said the hydro system gave the park its spark, I wasn't joking. It really did. It allowed Jose to power things like lights, fridges, hot water, and he had flushing toilets here in the park, which is quite spectacular to think that a lot of people would still have to wait about 25 years before they could turn on a light or even flush a toilet. But you could come into the park and do that, which is pretty awesome. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to quickly talk about the Tunnel of Love, which is coursed down Lover's Lane, which is just behind that tree line there. So once you arrive to the Tunnel of Love, the story behind that is Jose was using clay from the hillside there to build his castles. Once he was done, he had this big crater in the hillside here, and he thought, what will I do with it? So he decided he would continue to tunnel through it. It took him 5.5 years to tunnel through that 42-meter long tunnel. He used a pickaxe, a shovel, and a wheelbarrow to do so. But the best part was, he was so excited, he actually stopped halfway through tunneling and actually decided to build a ticket booth there, because he was going to turn it into the first underground aquarium. Woohoo! Sadly though, of course, he did not realise that the sand here had that high count of mica in the concrete, so the concrete was too porous, so the aquarium never came to be. But he still used it as the grand entrance to the secret garden where Teresa Falls lies. Now, unfortunately, this was adults only. All the kids would have to stay outside, and I'm not sure how long it took couples to go through the 42-meter long tunnel. Depended on the couple, am I right? Now, unfortunately, when you head over there, you can no longer go through the Tunnel of Love, but please go under there and have a look inside. There are about 1,000 bent-winged microbats that live in there now. Now, these bent-winged microbats are an important part of the ecosystem here. They're about yay big and they eat about 1/3 of their weight in insects, including those pesky mosquitoes. So if you don't get bit today, make sure you thank them on your way out before you go, because yes, they are, like I said, help keep that population down. Not only that, you'll definitely, like I said, see them flying around there in the tunnel, hear them, and definitely smell the love they leave behind in that tunnel. So I'm kind of glad we don't go through there anymore, because yeah, it'd be a bit smelly in there. If you continue down Lover's Lane, you'll see a staircase that will take you up to the bamboo forest. But instead of going up the staircase, take a left. That will take you to Teresa Falls. Just quickly about Teresa Falls, that was actually built by Jose himself. So back when Jose bought the park, he fell in love with the waterfall here, but he never actually named it. Henry Noonan was a big developer in the area, and that was his honour to name the waterfall just here. He did so after his daughter. And our Jose could not have that. So he actually manipulated a natural spring water nearby. He cut the hillside down using concrete and boulders, made a small replica of that big waterfall out here behind here. Then he gifted it to his daughter on her 8th birthday. What a dad, what a husband, what a guy, am I right? Yes. All right, ladies and gentlemen, before I let you go, I'd just like to say a big thank you for coming on my tour here today. Now, I know I said he charged small fees here in the park to use certain facilities, but I can't stress this enough to you all. It was never to make money here in the park. He earned his wealth through very hard work early on in his life, but not only that, he was a poor boy, so he knew what it was like to go without. So once he had finally built his dreams here, he wanted to make sure that anybody and everybody could come to the park and enjoy it. Now, about 90 years on, thanks to you all today, that is still a reality. We can still continue that for him. So keep that in mind as you walk around the park today. You've become part of Jose's dream here as well. So again, a big thank you for coming on tour again. I'll stay back here to answer any questions you may have. And having said all that, fly my pretties, fly!
What a cool tour that was. Very informative, sounded like a pretty business savvy kind of guy. I think we're going to wander around now and have a bit more of a look around and see what we can find.
Turtle nesting!
Turtle nesting, up this way. We're going to go check out the turtle nesting, which is down the end here, and then we'll make our way back through all the cool stuff. Look at the fish.
Oh, I thought we could actually
Turtles? Any turtles? Fish. Make sure it goes all the way in the water. Can you get it right in the water? Are they Barra? Throw the rod in, Ollie. Throw the rod in. Oh, the fish are like jumping up. Oh my gosh, Ollie. Yeet. Yeah, come on, these ones. Wow, this whole place is filled with bamboo. How crazy is the bamboo? This one is Teresa Falls, so it comes from 50 meters up the stream, and he made it himself at this one. I'm not sure if you heard the lady talking on the tour, but there was the Tunnel of Love. I think we can probably only imagine what was happening in there back in the day.
There's bats in there flying around.
And it's full of bats. Oh yeah, you can see.
There must be heaps more than
reckon we're on the other side of the tunnel of love, or the love tunnel. How cool is it up here? This was their toilets. He had, apparently, yeah, like the lady was saying, he had flushing toilets back then, which was pretty amazing. Probably seen better days, unfortunately, but it's really interesting to see how ahead of his time this guy was. He was pretty amazing. As the lady said, on 2 of these trees were planted by him himself and his wife. They're massive, massive trees. She said you can see that's where the army actually got their army print from. But these trees, she said, were about 50 to 60 years old, but they grow to be several hundred years old. So they're probably going to lose the path by the time they get real wide. Pretty amazing. The little turn is pretty amazing. Place is really amazing. You got to see it for yourself. That building, that main building through there is just beautiful. The guy had a lot of taste, obviously. Had a good vision. Yeah, you really got to come and see it for yourself. Were all the changing cubicles that the lady was telling us about. So after they've been for a swim down here, they come up here and get changed into their nightgowns or their tuxedos or their suits, and get ready to go out for a dance or go out to the movies. We'll come down into the swimming area and check it out. These actually look like the original seating, and the lady said that no seat was interrupted with its view, of the waterfall, which is really cool. The original tables that the lady said when he designed them all, they'd all have an uninterrupted view of the waterfall. I reckon I could spend all day just in this section here. It's pretty amazing. But there's a few more bits and pieces to look at, so we'll go around and have a bit of a look. This is definitely the highlight though. Just picturing the people sitting here eating dinner or whatever they were doing. How cool is that?
Okay, so imagine jumping off.
I wonder how deep it is.
All different types of